Hey folks, I tried to go live earlier and had some technical difficulties. I did end up doing it on Instagram, but I think I may have failed on Facebook. But there's still time. It's 5:55, which is always a good time to do anything. Here in Bainbridge Island, which is just outside of Seattle. We're staying at one of our best friends, actually our son's godparents, out here, and just taking a week off. I've been writing since March 1st, just about every single day, and needed a little recharge. So now for a few days, we're just out here in the wilderness, staying in this little bungalow. I'm not going to be able to not write because the bungalow has this little desk that looks out over the garden and these forest, and it's pretty inspiring. But now I'm taking a moment. We're making paella from the Spanish Tables recipe. The Spanish Table is a restaurant or a shop in San Francisco and in Seattle that is owned by a buddy of mine, and he has a great cookbook, and we're following that recipe. He just sent me some information, and so I am shucking some peas that I just picked. Look at these gorgeous peas from our friend's garden, and trying to just let go a little bit. It's been an interesting book because, forgive me if somebody walks out, we're just kind of improvising here, but it's been an interesting book that I'm writing right now. It takes place in small town Vermont, and usually I try to be by the end by now. I just send it into my editor what I have, and that's called a first look. When my acquisitions editor gets a peek, she comes back to me in a couple weeks, and then I have another month and a half before it's really on and the final deadline kicks in. And usually it's just kind of some high level developmental edits, things like, this character's not working, I don't believe this would happen, let's slow this part down, let's skip this, let's delete a lot of words. Usually that's the number one for me. I just overwrite sometimes, which is fine, because I think the way that I write is dump a whole lot on the page and then delete everything but the gems. And if I keep doing that over and over, then hopefully the idea is that there will be only gems. So anyway, I turned in 210 pages 2 days ago, hopped on a plane to come here, and I've got another 150 to go. So we'll see what happens. What else is there to say? I guess the other thing that's a big deal for me is I've chosen to write in first person for the first time in a long time. Those of you who've been following me since Red Mountain days, I wrote Margot's story, the prequel, A Marriage Well Done, in first person. And then long before that, I wrote actually my first thriller under Benjamin Blackmore in first person. But this is my first in a long time, my first person in a long time. And it's been really cool and really a good challenge. Every book has been a challenge. As you guys know, with The Singing Trees, it was from a female point of view. It was from a 17-year-old's point of view for what most of the story, an Italian-American, born in the 50s, living in the late 60s, 70s, 80s. A lot of the time I wasn't alive. So that was a pretty serious challenge to overcome, but that's what I want. That's what pushes me. And with this one, the biggest challenge is in first person, not to make it me, not to make the character me. So at first I found myself falling into this place of, I can connect with the character in this way, but it just wasn't ringing true. So I really had to spend a lot of time. Matter of fact, I have this guru that I meet with weekly who helps me with all kinds of things. She lives in Spain, and she is really good at helping me tap into characters. And this guy Carver was really elusive for a while, and then I just ended up sitting with him and literally closing my eyes and imagining climbing into the skin of Carver Livingston, Dr. Carver Livingston, this surgical veterinarian. And that's the only way you can write first person, right? I'm literally saying I woke up and I drove to my practice and I met with my team before the first appointment of the day, blah, blah, blah. And I have to be in that mindset. And It's really cool once it starts to take over. And I'll tell you one other tidbit before I let you go. I didn't even tell my friends inside I was doing this. They said, go pick some shucks and peas. So I thought I'd do that. Another neat thing that's happened is I've come to know, some of you may know someone named Anna Kendrick, who's an actress. She's actually, I think she's been nominated for a Tony, an Emmy, and an Oscar. And there's a special club that has done that. It's a pretty exclusive club. She's from Portland, Maine, where I'm living now. I'm living right outside of there. I've come to know her mom pretty well, and she was a big fan of Red Mountain. In fact, she said she read it in 4 days, her mom. And as I was searching, trying to figure out the love interest in this current story, there's actually, no, I'm not going to tell you that part. I'm not going to give that away. Dr. Livingston is going to meet one young lady along the way that is going to really impact him. And I was having a hard time finding her because there's another woman in the story that seems to be stealing the show. But I happened to be talking to Anna's mother, Jan, and I was like, this makes sense. She's kind of an Anna Kendrick character. And if you've seen some of Anna's movies, she's really special, really beautiful, charismatic, but shy too, very fragile, almost like she doesn't realize how special she is, even though she's graced Tony Award-winning plays, and she sat across she sat across George Clooney and a host of others, not to mention, sang Justin Timberlake's song, which became really famous. So I finally found her, and I had to go back to the beginning of the book and search for her name throughout the book and rethink every behavior she had, every bit of dialogue. But it was really cool, and that part to me is absolutely fantastic. I guess that's the way it happens sometimes. In a perfect world, I'd like to sit around before the book for a few weeks, for a few months. I guess I do make it for a few weeks, but a month is a luxury I don't have at the moment. And sit with the characters and figure them out beforehand. Sadly, that doesn't seem to be the way it is working for me right now. I'm more, I come up with a name, I kind of have an idea of who they are, maybe I know what their Enneagram is or their zodiac signs. But until they start bouncing around on the page and I'm just kind of, flowing and seeing how they interact, seeing what they actually want, hey, D, I'm going to read this in 1 second once I finish my thought. Until I actually see what they want and feel them and see kind of how I need them in the story, which is a big part. I mean, they're very malleable. Then that's when I got to go back and kind of rework them. And some characters are alive from the first second. This one, I guess my point is with this one, it's been a doozy because it's a really personal story. It's from a male point of view. And for me, it hits kind of home, and it's been tough. So I've just had to go back and rework and figure out a lot of the characters. And I think I'm on my way now. My agent read it, who is amazing. She's like the puppet master of my writing career, which is in the most nicest way. She's my Geppetto. And I think I'm on my way now. So starting tomorrow, I'm going to wake up. Let me show you this is where the kids are playing. That's the garden. That is this amazing garden that my friends built, and it's caged up because there's deer everywhere. We've already seen a bunch. And just that way is the water just down the hill, and you can walk to a little pizza place and stuff. So I'm going to get up and start writing, and this time fly to the end. And I would like to think that in the next 2 or 3 weeks that I will be done. All right, let's see. I'm so honored that you guys are watching. I kind of just did this, obviously, spur of the moment. D, who I just absolutely adore and just supports me like few others, says, Anna Kendrick is my daughter and my favorite actress. You describe her perfectly, and I'm jealous that you've met her mother. I know, right? You know how I figured it out, D, is, of course I've always known who she is, and my son watches a lot of her movies, Trolls, for one. I've seen that about 4 billion times. But what I did, when that occurred to me, I was actually exchanging an email with her mother, Jan. And Jan might be watching, but I was exchanging an email as I was thinking about Ava, and it just kind of hit me. And what I did is I YouTubed Anna Kendrick's old interviews, and seeing her on Conan and stuff. And that's where I just kind of inhabited this thing. And I was like, I don't know. So I think I've written so many characters, so many female characters that are really strong and maybe know it and are fiery and cocky. Cocky's probably not the word, sassy. And I thought, oh, this is so beautiful to create a character that is so such a big energetic ball of life when she wants to turn it on, but she also just kind of hangs in the background and just listens and pays attention and is super humble and is just out to have fun and just happens to have an amazing voice and an incredible talent. And yeah, so that was pretty fun. What else? If you guys have any other questions, feel free to fire. I'm just about done here, and we're doing a paella. As you guys know, you're going to hear from me a lot more. As you guys hopefully know, I have a book coming out next month, and I went to Spain to live for a year and a half during COVID to research it. And it's called A Spanish Sunrise, and that year and a half changed my life in so many ways. And one of the things was, we were living in Valencia. We fell in love with paella, and we were trying to bring it back to the States. And it just so happens our friends here also love paella. And they happened to pull out this cookbook from the Spanish Table. And I became friends with the owner of the Spanish Table. So that's going to be kind of fun. We're going to open up some Vino Verde maybe. And maybe some rosé to start. And make, what is it, I think a 70 centimeter wide paella pan. And one of the things that we learned over there that I don't think is known in America is with true paella, you want it just a couple kernels thick, as opposed to this kind of rice pilaf thing that we see in America all the time. Or even the paella that had been my favorite previously was made in Nice, France, and I went there years ago and I loved it so much I went every day. But that was even thicker. So true paella is like, you know, just like that. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight, or trying to. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Thea. Arlene. What's up, all my friends? Thank you guys for joining me. What to leave you with? I don't know that I have any words of wisdom. I just felt like talking about my process a little bit while I shuck these peas. My buddy Michael, who's retired from the Coast Guard, is just looking at me like, what is he doing over there talking to himself while he's shucking peas? Anywho, see you guys.